round 2, opponent's mulliganing, so are we. Yeah, we can keep this one though. This looks okay to me. Yeah, I guess we'll leave that on top too. We're going to need some lands. Just based on this hand. No 2-drop, that's good news. No 3-drop either. Alright, well, doing it. There's the Spiteful Motives. Ah, Nearheath Chaplain. That's a good one. Alright, looks like we're in pretty big trouble now. Alright, taking the trade. Certainly can't allow my opponent to gain a bunch of life. Alright. I think we're actually going to play the Drownyard Explorer here. We need to find some answers for that Apothecary Geist at some point. Could have actually attacked with Forge Master there, I guess, but then I guess he cracks back for a lot if he has an answer for Explorer. So maybe that's too dangerous. Alright, so we're playing against a blue-white flyer deck. Guess we clue it up. I'm going to offer the trade. Okay. We'll pass. I want to take 4 here, I guess. Alright, well, we're going to adjust the Wind in the Dusk, the Niblis, because I don't want him to replay that and gain more life. Oh, I could have Spiteful Motives in response. That probably would have been better. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So if I'd Spiteful Motives the Forge Master, he would have had to come up with some other solution for it. It probably would have been better, in retrospect. Yeah, reduced to ashes. It's a good question. So this is a 5-turn clock. This, with spells, turns it into a quicker clock, though. The 3 toughness seems kind of relevant on this board, though, but is that right? I think I'm actually going to reduce the Niblis. I don't know if this is right or wrong. We'll find out. But my thinking is the fact that spells increases clock is unfortunately relevant there. So you can bounce spirits now, which is pretty strong, but I guess I'm glad I resolved the spell already, but now I wish I'd hit the one that he can't bounce and gain life with. Alright, well, we're hoping this resolves and does something. Alright. So I guess he did have the compelling deterrence if I did Spiteful Motives. Is that right? We don't know. He may not have had that at the time, but he would have come up with that at some point. But it still was the right move. I guess we're just dead next turn. Is that right? Regardless of whether I have Flameblade Angel or not, huh? Alright. Well, he already knows about it, so I guess we'll just make him go through it. He's got slightly less time on his clock. So if I could go back, I would definitely change the play. We're going to ditch Spiteful Motives now, though. It is a good Puncturing Light response, but the fact that he's at least got one bounce spell makes it less attractive option to me. I'm going to have to come up with some more solutions for his flyers. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for that yet. Come up with something cool, I hope. I guess it's better to just block the Niblis, since he could bounce it anyway. I mean, even if I wasn't dead. So... oh, Tenacity too, okay. Pretty unnecessary to show us that, but I'm glad he did. It's good to know about Tenacity. It's a good reason to play it out even when you've lost. Get more additional information. And Tenacity is a really important card to know about, so I'm really happy the opponent did that. Let's bring in the second Reduced to Ashes. Let's bring in Adjust the Wind. I guess Just the Wind's not great. Here, he has Into the Battlefield effects like Apothecary Geist and Inspiring Captain. It's good against the Tenacity, I guess. It's also good defensively against like a Puncturing Light or something. Chasm's out. He's got all flyers, so it was also in our hand the whole game and looked terrible, so that's an easy cut. I'm still thinking I want to cut the Spiteful Motives. Like I said, it's good against a Puncturing Light, but we know he at least has one bounce spell. Maybe I cut the Fevered Visions, though, and keep the Spiteful Motives. I guess I could get behind that. I'm not a huge fan of Fevered Visions outside of the blue-red spells deck. His curve does not look low, which does make the Fevered Visions slightly better. And like I said, Just the Wind's not great, but Just the Wind is also good against his kind of slow spells. He did have to mulligan. He could have a quicker clock than we realized. But I still think I'm going to run it like this. Yeah, this hand's actually fine. And Warped Landscape, even though you might think it looks bad here, actually looks decent. Because it's going to help feed our Delirium plan, which I think is actually okay in this matchup, believe it or not. Vessel's pretty good against our Gibbering Fiend, I guess, but... So I could actually attack with one Gibbering Fiend. It's not as bad as you think it is. Like, it gets all the spirits off his board if he's got multiple Apothecary Guys. Like, basically I attack with the Gibbering Fiend. So I can Just the Wind the other one. It is a 2-for-1. Can also Just the Wind the one he blocks with, and it leaves me with both Gibbering Fiends. And then it's like a 1 for a half. You know, I'm actually gonna... I put an instant. I'm gonna have a land. I'm gonna have a sorcery eventually. I think we're gonna do this. It gets rid of a spirit. It preserves my Gibbering Fiend. We'll see. Prefer to not trade a Gibbering Fiend for another Spirit token. We're getting close to Delirium. And a Shaka turn is not irrelevant. Okay, so he did have the Apothecary Geist. He was going to gain the life regardless. We still get to Fiery Temper that. And I think I do Fiery Temper rather than Reduce to Ashes. I still get to attack with Gatstaff Arsonist too, which is actually kind of good. Well, that doesn't hurt. Okay. Alright. So now we pass. Because we want to flip our Arsonist. Still think we're going to end up tempering the Apothecary Geist now that we know he has the Spectral Shepherd. And if he uses the apparatus on a Gibbering Fiend, it turns on the delirium of another one, so that's not horrible either. I mean, not immediately, but when we get the land in there and we eventually get this sorcery in there. Alright. We're actually going to take this because I'm curious what he's going to play. Might be something I'd prefer to Fiery Temper. No play. Alright. So I can Fiery Temper now. He's got 5 mana up like the instant speed guy. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good rip too. So I think what we're going to do is reduce, and then we get to delirium him as well. And we get in for 10. Yeah, I think this has got to be the best. Because he's got to use apparatus right away. Oh, wait, we don't have delirium? I was wrong. Probably was not as good. Well, that's alright. I forgot that I did not have a creature in my yard yet. Like I said, though, he does have to deal with our Gibbering Fiends, like, now. That's a strange kind of play, I think. Yeah, I think this is going to kill him. If that's the best play he's got, because I don't know what he can do with 1 mana. We basically now get to play Flameblade Angel, attack with Gatstaff Ravager, and he's just dead. He double blocks it, he takes 2. He basically has to double block it so that it doesn't die, in which case we're still doing amazing. In fact, if I attack with everything, is he just dead? Blocks there, he goes to 3. Double blocks. Good. Yeah, he's dead if I attack with everything. There's nothing he can do here. There is no block that gets him out of this. All right. So he does have a slower curve. Now I definitely want Dual Shot. Now that I know he's got Vessel and Niblis, Dual Shot seems a lot better. Probably ditch Adjust the Wind for it. That makes sense to me. I mean, I still actually like Just the Wind because his deck is slow. Even though his stuff has Enter the Battlefield effects, maybe that's wrong. We know he's got at least one bounce spell, and he has his Explosive Apparatus. But do I still... And Puncturing Light, but Spiteful Motives is actually good against the Puncturing Light. I could ditch Adjust the Wind. Like I said, the fact that his stuff has Enter the Battlefield effects does make Just the Wind slightly worse, but it also, like I said, is good for tempoing. I'm going to diversify and leave the one Spiteful Motives in and hope that, because it's a good way to push through some surprise damage too. All right. Yeah, this hand's going to do. That was a great draw. Okay. Certainly a trade we were willing to make. Near Heath Chaplain. All right. Is he going to attack? It's a bold attack. If we find the right card, we're in pretty good shape here. Did find it. I mean, this puts him in a certain degree of both pressure and trouble, since now if we draw a land, Reduced to Ashes actually gets rid of the Near Heath Chaplain threat permanently, which is pretty insane for us. It's clearly his follow-up play. Yeah. Is he going to attack this time? That's the real question. Did he get punished enough the first time around? Looks like he learned his lesson. All right. Land? Land there would have been pretty sick. I guess the play is Hulking Devil and pass. I may just take the damage from Near Heath Chaplain, but that's tough too. We'll see. I do want to reduce it to ashes. That is for certain. All right. This is manageable. So he's got Confirmed Suspicions mana up. So I can play the Incorrigible Youth, swing with everything. This is a bit challenging. Because it seems likely seems very likely he has confirmed suspicions. I guess I force him to have it. See, the problem is, confirmed suspicions countering everything is just good. So, like, let's say I don't play around confirmed suspicions, right? If I didn't play around it there, I still would not have an attack that was profitable. Like, I don't think there's a way I can properly play around that without dealing with Near Heath Chaplain. Like, the problem is I have no way to deal with Near Heath Chaplain. So I force the block here. It's going to be the Blood Mad. He's only going to net loss 4 life. I guess I'm going to have to accept that. We're in pretty serious trouble because of that, but like I said, I have no play there that's good. That's the real problem, isn't it? If I play a spell and he counters it, I still can't attack. If I play the removal and he counters it, I still have to attack. So I had to attack that turn any way you slice that. And like I said, even though it was pretty predictable he had the confirmed suspicions, he owned the board state in a way that prevented me from doing anything else. Like, I could save the Reduce to Ashes, play something else into a counter spell, but then I'm not attacking and he gets to crack clues. I'm not sure that's good. In fact, I would argue that's pretty bad. I mean, at least this way, Gibbering Fiend's going to have Delirium once I have this Warped Landscape in my yard, which is pretty good. It's a clock I can foreseeably do something with. I mean, one way to play around the confirmed suspicions would have just been attack and not play any spell. He still would be at 7. It just seems like there's so much upside to a Reduced to Ashes resolving there. So much upside. Alright, so he can, I guess at this point, bounce his... Well, that's pretty good. So I guess we attack with Hulking Devil. I think he's going to bounce it. Alright, this isn't that bad. So now we can turn on our Delirium, find our second blue for the Jace, which I think is what we're going to do. I could have played an Incorrigible Use there as well, but I think the Delirium factor is pretty relevant here. He does have to deal with Gibbering Fiend in a pretty timely manner, or at least find his Apothecary Geist to start gaining some life, in which case I still think we're okay. Okay, so he did at least find the Apothecary Geist, which is going to let him gain some life, but now we can play Incorrigible Youths, and he really does not have a great block. Like, that's pretty important here too. I think we're going to go with the better mana play. We're going to play the Incorrigible Youths. He also can't Puncturing Light either of our guys, which is pretty relevant. So like he can block and bounce, but we're progressing our board while he's not. He is gaining life, but the life gain's not going to be good enough. So if I had done this last turn, I guess he could have just blocked Incorrigible Youths and maybe taken 5, but then he would have been at a substantially lower life total. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I think we're going to take out the Apothecary Geist. Leaving him with the Spectral Shepherd does let him continue to bounce. If he has a second Apothecary Geist. But getting rid of the 3 toughness things seems better. We'll go for the 3 toughness guy, I guess. So he does get to crack a clue. He has to take some delirium damage. He has to deal with our Gibbering Fiend pretty immediately. He also can go land near Heath Chaplain and Silent Observer. Dual Shot's just a great draw here. Alright, we're just attacking with Hulking Devil. Because I want to see how he blocks. This trade I'm also okay with. Okay, so he wants to just keep his guy. So that's cool. We're going to allow that. We're going to dual shot his flyers. We're going to play Wicker Witch. So what this sets us up for is a Stitched Mangler next turn, plus a better attack. Plus he still has to deal with Gibbering Fiend. And we're also a land away from Flameblade Angel, which, when your opponent is at 2, is going to make for some pretty immediate danger. Okay. That's kind of odd. Spectral Shepherd plus Inspiring Captain were his best plays. So that means, yeah, well, I guess that's GG's. Not even going to give him a turn. All right. Well, we beat the Blue-White Flyers deck, and we didn't even play around the Confirmed Suspicions, and it still mapped out for us. So Gibbering Fiend did some major legwork this game. I don't know how much this one in particular dealt, but it seems like it at least dealt 4 or 5 damage, which ended up being enough. And Hulking Devil played surprisingly well, so I was pleasantly surprised with how good Hulking Devil is. I'm playing Devil.deck here, Devils and Scarecrows. It's a weird deck with double rare in hand. All right, we'll see you in the finals.